Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Super excited about who I've got on today. Andrey Sokurec with Homestead Road. He's actually a longtime friend of mine from when we both lived back in Minnesota. He's the co-founder and chief executive officer of Homestead Road, a tech-enabled company and a leading purchaser of single-family residential properties with operations in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Florida. Since 2007, the company's helped over 3,000 homeowners sell their homes simply and stress-free. Pretty impressive. Not many people have done that much in volume. Homestead Road's also been recognized as the Inc. 5000 as the best place to work and has the fastest growing company for 6 consecutive years. Andrey is an active member of YPO, and he's also served as their board as the membership officer of YPO in the Twin Cities. He holds a master's degree in finance and accounting and is a Harvard alumni. And having graduated from OPM, Owner President Management Program, and Mr. Sokurec is also a best-selling author of Total Financial Awakening. So all that to say, this dude knows what he's talking about. And I wanted to bring him on, not because of his house flipping experience. There's a lot of people that flip houses, but there's not a lot of people that do it at scale and have created the lifestyle beyond that too. Most are slaves to it. So Andrey, thanks again for being on. You're in Florida now. We both escaped Minnesota, and excited to have this conversation. I know our listeners are going to get a ton, whether they're an entrepreneur or a real estate investor. So thanks again for being on.
Mario, it's my pleasure. And I haven't completely escaped. I live in Florida. However, my office, my headquarters is still in Minneapolis, and I have a regular trips. I'm trying to go there during the summer and sometimes during the winter just to see how the weather is and be back in Florida.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's probably something unique for most entrepreneurs. They usually live close to their office. What are some of the challenges of living away from your team in Florida, where they're across the country in Minnesota? What are some challenges you've had with that?
Yeah, I think COVID has made this change possible because we pretty much interact like what we do right now with you via Zoom online. But it's still, I think, important like to meet face to face, rub the shoulders, go and have meals together. I think it still will be the case. You still need to meet people face to face. However, these communications like with Zoom and Google Meet, it made it possible to be pretty much anywhere you want to be in the world. And if you have a solid business, which is driven by business processes, systems, you can operate the business from anywhere in the world.
What's the hardest part about it?
The hardest part about it, business always has problems or challenges. So you have to watch your business or have right people who can watch your business while you're not there.
Yeah. And when you're across, when you're in other states, especially, you're buying homes, you're renovating them and selling them. That's the model, correct?
Yeah, the model is pretty much very simple. We buy homes, we don't do any wholesales, we fix them up. Our average rehab costs range from $30,000 to $50,000, and then we resell. And we like Minneapolis is a core market. We've been in this market for a long time. Then we expanded to Wisconsin and Florida. And here in Florida, we have a marketing team, and most of the people like in Minnesota. And because you cannot flip houses, I mean, remotely, you have to have people who can do actual job.
That is a great point. You're running a very on the ground operational business in multiple states, and you're remote. And everybody is, I'm sure there's other people on your team that are remote, but you as the CEO are remote. And you said it in the very beginning, if you're going to have a successful business, you've got to see the operations of the business. You got to pay attention to it. And so there's probably some extra travel in there, I would think, too, to get on the ground and double check your project managers, make sure that's all running smoothly. Do you have a COO, or are you overseeing the operational side as well?
Yeah, I'm super fortunate because I have a partner in the business. He is also COO. So he's in Minneapolis. He oversees the projects, and that's his forte. He overseeing construction and disposition, deal approval, underwriting. My responsibility is marketing and finance and strategy, which can be conducted remotely.
Yeah. Is the business itself different for you in the North versus the South. So you're in
Yeah, completely.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Florida. Talk about that a little bit and how you manage that, because I've flipped houses in both states too, and I'm curious to your thoughts on
Well,
that.
you probably know really well that Midwest is completely different from South. I mean, work ethics, like for example, like in Minnesota, we never had a fraud case. In Florida, when we opened the first location, like 4 years ago, first two cases we got title fraud. I don't know about your experience. So we start buying owner's title policy on every single deal
Yeah.
because it's so common. In Minnesota, we don't even buy owner's policy at all.
Too honest of people in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, yeah.
is is the labor, how is the labor different?
Work ethics, I think, a little bit different,
Yeah.
and attitude. But it's again like East, West, and Midwest. It's like it completely different culture, different attitude, different people.
Skill level too. I would say
Yeah.
Minnesota is much more skilled labor than in the South. South is kind of like, so you were a cook at a, you know, Burger King, and then you decide to go into the trades, and that's your experience. Like, we're up in Minnesota, you just have guys that have been doing it for a really long time, have good training, and they seem to be much more reliable than what you see in the South. So you just have a lot more turnover down here too, I would think.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the craftsmanship in Minnesota for sure.
It makes you appreciate it a lot more when you go do business in other
Mhm.
states.
Yeah.
And how have you guys handled the quality control in the South? And being that your COO is up north, you got operations going on in the South. Is he traveling a lot too then?
No, we have each location has a general manager, and they oversee the locations. And you have to inspect what you expect, and like obviously see the house, because if your house is sloppy, then you will have a hard time to sell it for top dollars.
You will, especially in a market that's gotten softer over the last year or so. You've got to really have that quality level up. Is there anything that you do on the front end to set expectations for those vendors?
Yeah, well, we have an onboarding process, Mario, and we tell people that you have to meet certain expectations. We pretty much have the same crews all the time who work on our business, and if we have low quality or not on time delivery, after second strike, person is out, and we pay every Friday, and we don't have a shortage of good quality labor right now.
That's good. Yeah, the fast payment is good, especially in the South, it seems like. Is the bulk of your, I guess, labor, are they in-house or are they contracted?
We have only project managers are in house, and everyone else is a subcontractor.
Okay. And have you seen that as more challenging in one region than the other, or is it pretty good consistently across all of them?
It's pretty good consistently. We used to have people on payroll, like who actually do the work. We have a couple handymen, they on payroll,
Sure.
but they just do minor fixes. I think that's a must. But we try to have like all the, not all, but maybe like 10 people who on payroll, and then it creates additional set of challenges. You have to have a additional project manager on the spot to make sure that they don't smoke all the time, and like it was not a good experience because we didn't have controls in place, didn't have that system. We decided just to pay per job completed, not pay by hours spent on the site.
There's a lot to learn with that and take from that, because if you think about it, a lot of times people think that having in-house employees, you have more control. But in many cases, having an in-house employee, they can slack off, and you really have to micromanage them. Where if it's production based and quality based, you know, getting the job complete at the certain standards, you can hold back their pay. You can't hold back their pay if they're an employee. And so there may be something there for people in different businesses. Sometimes contract work might turn out to be a better quality result than, and actually more productivity per hour than the guys that are in-house if you've got to pay them hourly. That's
Yeah,
a really good.
that's right. Because like, I think you're absolutely right. Some
Yeah, you can hold
projects,
their
like I
pay.
would rather work with subcontractors. I don't want them to be employees.
Yeah. Are you've been doing this since 2007. So you're very experienced at it, and most people do house flipping for 1 to 2 years, and they're kind of in and out. You've created a company around it, a successful one. Let's jump back to early on. Where was where were you in year 1 and 2 compared to where you are today? Like, what were some of the big hurdles that you had to get over to go from old Andrey to very successful investing company Andrey?
Yeah, well, I think I'd like to start with a Stephen Covey quote. He said, "Start with the end in mind." And I never wanted to be a small company. I never wanted to be a slave working in my company. I wanted to build a business and build enterprise value. And I think this is what a lot of guys missing. They become self-employed, who is slave to the business. They cannot afford themselves like to spend quiet time with the family, weekends. They have to work all the time. And I was in that place myself because I didn't have any money. I moved from Belarus, Eastern Europe in 2005. I had a master's degree in finance, but could not find a job. So real estate was like very lucrative at the opportunity at that point in 2005. And I started buying homes in 2005. In 2008, financial crisis happened, and that was really tough situation. But what we did, we adapted and start instead of doing fix and flips, we started buying rental properties, and we had a successful exit 3 years ago when prices probably tripled. And so old Andrey was doing everything by himself. And now we have processes and systems and real business that is monitored by key performance indicators. We run it like a normal, like a solid business with processes, systems, KPIs, and you can pretty much say how your business is doing just looking at dashboards and see what you need to fix.
All right, you exited a sizable portfolio. Is that individual sales, or did you sell that off as a portfolio to an institutional investor? What did that exit look like?
Yeah, we look at different options. We look at selling as a portfolio or sell individually, and we calculated in our personal case, it was more lucrative to sell one by one because we pretty much sold them as retail deals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people want to sell things as a portfolio, but especially in the single family world where you're dealing with retail buyers who are emotionally engaged and not quite so financially focused, you can often get a much higher exit price selling them one off to local buyers with their, high leverage and all of that. So that's great. How long did that take to sell them off?
Well, we probably sold them within 2 years.
Okay.
Uh, so we timed it right. I think the property was rented, the properties were rented, and when it was time to renew a lease, we didn't renew the lease, fix it up, and sold it as a retail property for FHA buyers. And that was a perfect, like we got full retail value. It took a little bit more time, but the market was very favorable at that moment, and we're glad that we get rid of that business. That was a really tough business. We were in Section 8, low income housing, a lot of maintenance, but obviously this was the highest ROI, return on investment,
Yeah.
but a lot of maintenance.
Your
And
timing
yes,
was really prime, by the way. I don't know if that was luck or if that was very well thought out, but your timing was very, very good on that exit. You said it was what, 2 years ago you
yeah,
sold?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really solid. Now, did you stop? How did that transition look? You sold off the rentals. You were already in the flipping business before that. So it's not like you went from rental to flipping. You had both going simultaneously. You just got out of the rental side. So it sounds like it was somewhat seamless.
Yeah, we'll start buying fix and flip homes like in 2000. I would say first flip I did in 2010, And most of the houses before, I was buying like most of investors just for appreciation with
Yeah.
negative equity. That was a big mistake. I learned it in 2008. So
Yep.
we've been doing this fix and flip for a long time ago, and rental portfolio was passive income. So for me, the most important objective was, okay, how can I create a passive income? And passive income is when you don't need to work to support your current lifestyle. Lifestyle can be different. At that moment, my lifestyle was $10,000 per month, and I calculated if I can make passive $10,000 per month, I don't need to work. That would be perfect. However, lifestyle changes every year. You want to have a better car, better. You want to have like maybe your kids go to private school, go to vacation, so you have to work a little bit more and increase. However, passive income and financial freedom for every person is different. For some people, it's $5,000. For some people, it's 10. For some people, it's $1 million. But my belief, as soon as your passive income can exceed your expenses, you financially free. And there are two freedoms: normal freedom and absolute financial freedom. Absolute financial freedom when you can do whatever you want. And basic financial freedom, I think, is a good baseline when you don't need to be slave of your work. And
Yeah.
I think like building a business really helped me, because since 2010, like I told you before this interview, I've been overworked, overwhelmed. I've been doing everything by myself pretty much, and that was until 2012. What happened? I have a brother, and he's one day I got a call from my sister-in-law that his 10 months old boy unexpectedly passed away.
Man.
That was a complete um, life-changing event for me. And I made a decision that I cannot be feeling guilty at work that I'm not spending time with my kids. And at working, I used to feel guilty that I'm not with my kids, and vice versa. At home, I was feeling guilty that I'm not working. And I made a
You're
decision.
torn. Yeah.
Yes, and I fortunately I met a gentleman, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Maybe you heard of him.
Yep.
He has a location in Chicago, and I started going to his mastermind group, and that's the concept that he teaches: freedom of time, money, and relationships. I had at that time freedom of time. However, I didn't have freedom of I had freedom of money, basic freedom, but I didn't have freedom of time, and that was very, very appealing, especially after my brother's son passed away. And I I was the guy, like, let's say, and I see it all the time, especially in YPO, Young President Organization. A lot of people have very successful careers. They make so much money, but they are slaves of their own businesses. They go on vacation, or let's say they go to dinner. You sit, and I've been there myself. I have a dinner with my family. I have a phone call, and I say, wait, this is a very important call. I have to take it, right? But if you ask yourself, what can be more important than spending quiet time with your family? That's the question.
Yep.
And going to Dan Sullivan workshops really helped me to free up the time. And since 2000, I think 12, like I've been having 140 days free of business emails, business related conversations. I don't answer calls. I don't send emails. I don't check my emails. And that was very, very challenging. I'll tell you, like not to looking at your email, like when you go on vacation, like take your phone out and start searching. But what happens as soon as you check that email, you completely shifts in that mode from being on vacation with your family to focus on your business, and it's really hard to go back to like relaxing mode. And I like the concept of freedom of time, because when you relax, you're more productive. When you go back, you're more productive. What happens with a lot of guys, like with us, with entrepreneurs, we work so hard. We work so hard. We run, and then what happens? A lot of guys like have health related problems, problems with the families because, and then they go on vacation. But it's too late. You
Yeah,
have to.
too
Life
late.
is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So you
Sure.
have to have a lot of small sprints to have that freedom of time. And for me personally, Mario, freedom of time, the most important asset that we can have. It's hard to replace the time with your family. It doesn't come back. And over the years, I created a lot of memories with my three kids. I had three kids, and I, I cannot, I don't regret because we had summer vacation, winter vacation, spring vacation, and I'm very, very strategic about that. The way we start, I learned to start my year, or actually it's 2 years right now I'm planning. At first I put on my calendar my vacations because that's the most important time. If I don't block my time, like I will be always busy. So vacations first. I want to start with winter vacation. We start like skiing. Then we have spring vacation, 1 month of summer vacation, and then I have vacation with my wife. And I want to have a guys trip. Like we want to go to a cool place, like go to bike with guys in Colorado or oh man, I went to so many places. And then after vacations, I put my educational events everywhere where I go, mastermind groups, any like industry events, and then I build everything around that.
Yep.
And if you don't put your vacation, or if you don't put your, let's say, gym time or me time, you're going to be busy. But what also learned that being busy and being productive is completely different things. You can be busy and run around, or you can be relaxed. You're not overwhelmed. You're more strategic about what you do, why you're doing, and you have a clear answers like why you do what you do. You have a better life. And I think it's good for your business, because if you see that CEO of the company is overwhelmed, he's reactive, and like when you go to your office on Monday, no one calls you or send you email, hey, like we made extra money. Usually people have a lot of challenges on Monday. To be
Right.
able to handle it, you have to be refreshed. You have to be ready to handle challenges with the business.
Yeah, it's really a recharge. And there's the results are what matters, right? Not how much time you put into it, but as entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning stages of starting a business, you have to put in a lot of work because you don't have the scale to leverage your time with other people and all that. And I think what happens is we get addicted to that. We get addicted to the productivity and being busy. And then as the company grows, you just get more and more busy because more things come up, right? The bigger the company, the more the problems, more issues that come up. And if you don't start taking yourself out of the equation, it ultimately owns you and you get addicted to it. It's a dopamine hit every time you get a good email from work or you solve a problem. I don't even think that the issue has to be, I should say, I don't even think that the email that you get has to be positive. It's that you resolved an issue. It's a little dopamine hit. I solved a problem. I solved a problem. And we get addicted to that as entrepreneurs. I have went through that same exact thing. I'm still working on it, but I would say that taking more than a week off is much better than doing little, 2 day, one day, taking a Friday off. Yeah, that's good. I mean, you're going to have a little bit longer weekend, but when you take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month off, you really decompress. I mean, you can mentally get out of it much better than you can just taking little breaks. I believe in taking the weekend off, at least Sundays, and that does help recharge for the next week. But like you said, taking a month off, if you don't
Yeah,
do
if
it,
you don't book it, you just like keep going working.
sure,
But
because there's always going to be a new deal. There's always going to be a new meeting, a new mastermind you got to be at. There's always going to be something that you have to be there for. So if you start blocking it off way in advance, you're forced to work around it. We did that with Europe. We went for about a month in Europe 2 years, 3 years ago now. We had a kid last year, so we didn't go. But same thing. First week, I'm fidgety. I'm checking my email. After that, 3 extra weeks, I'm in vacay mode, and you come back so much stronger.
Yeah. But again, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't just leave the business and say, okay, wherever. No, you have to plan well in advance, put right
Yes.
people to have processes to grow your people, so they can be empowered to make decisions, and they need to understand the culture, how we base in our decisions. They should have enough experience to run the business, and then you can go and relax. Otherwise, it will be disaster if you just go without processes and systems.
Yeah, don't
I
just
think
leave your company.
well,
Say, figure it out.
the first year, Mario, like when I went to this strategic coach, and again, like I have a lot of mentors, like, but Dan Sullivan, he really instilled this message. And like first year of the mastermind group, I freed up about 1,200 hours. 1,200. So
That's
the
massive.
exercise that anyone can do every quarter, and I keep doing that every quarter. You write down all your activities, what you do. Example would be, let's say I have a meeting. Meeting only takes 1 hour, but then you multiply it by 52 hours. So 52 hours of your time you spend on something that is unnecessary, and then you list your activities and think, okay, what can I eliminate to have a freedom to do what? For example, if you don't have time to go to gym, well, eliminate your meeting. You have 52 hours to go to gym. It's a vacation with your kid or something else. And then every quarter, you work yourself out of a job and calculate those 3 hours and only operate in your unique ability, something that you absolutely love doing. For example, like for me, absolutely loving doing, I love to share with other people. I like to create opportunities, building connection, learning new ideas, implementing, like building culture. That's what I love doing. And I don't want to do anything else. And my job as a CEO to put other people in their unique ability, understand what they love doing. If someone loves to crunch the numbers, like that, that's their perfect place in the accounting department. I have a degree in finance, but that's not my unique ability. I have people who absolutely excited to like make sure that the every cents like matches, but for me it's important, but it's not my unique ability, so I don't want to do that. Or like for example, for me, I decided not to do any like first step was many years ago not to do my accounting, so I hired accountant, and that accountant was doing much better job than me, much
Yeah.
better. Yeah, she still is with me, and now she's a VP of finance and a partner in the company. We created profit center for our managers, and that's part of why I can have freedom of time, because right now we have vested interest of our key employees. They are partners in the business.
Let's talk about that a little further, because I think one challenge that entrepreneurs have when they start leveraging with other people's efforts, they get to the point where they can hire their next person. They start to go, yeah, but I'm still small. I can't really afford top quality talent. You're basically fighting for good talent from all the big guys who have unlimited payroll, compared to you, and benefits and all of that, and they got the culture already in place. What does that profit sharing, profit center look like? I mean, you don't have to give me exact payroll amounts, but generally, what's the structure of that? And
Yeah,
how does
it's
it
a very
encourage
typical
people to work?
structure. So, for example, for us, we're $100 million business, and we want to build enterprise value. So, but probably at some point, we're going to be bought up by a private equity group to help to expand us further. So, this profit center, where you issue Class B stock to your employees, they don't have any rights to receive profit. They don't have rights to look at your books. You don't have to report to them. However, when exit event happens or M&A event happens, they will get, based on their cap table, like based on percentage that they have financial award. If they leave the company, they get zero, nothing. But if they stay with the company till event happens, then that might be a life-changing event for them or good sizable check, and it's a very lucrative. So like to build that enterprise value, like we spend a lot of time with different consultants to build this Class B, I mean, profit center. Also, we have short-term and long-term compensation, because people not only get compensation this year, but they have a compensation that is accrue it for many, many years ahead, let's say 3, 4 years, and it builds up. But for them to leave the company and go anyone else, they will have to lose their compensation, and they have to lose their stock profit center. So that's how you compete, because that's what bigger companies do. Again,
What's
like it's very hard to compete with big companies because they have a lot of resources. But the advantage that we have as entrepreneurs, we a lot more resourcefulness. We have a lot of more. We have creativity. We have better culture. Like we have flexibility, because people, probably a lot of people hate corporate job. No one excited to go to corporate job because you don't feel like you belong to like something exciting. No, but we're a small company. We have great culture. We have good time together, and we have also opportunities to grow. Like when we build this path for people when they join one position, then we groom them to go higher, and we pay for their education, so they feel that they mean something and they love spending time. That's why we have such a great culture in our company, and I'm absolutely proud of that fact that people love working within our company.
Yeah, you got best place to work from Inc. 5000, right?
Yes, that's
Pretty
that's right.
impressive.
We take feedback very seriously. Like from employees, we survey them every year. We send them survey, and every time when they provide feedback to us, we improve, we take action, we take it very, very seriously to make sure that we they love being with us. Like for example, like our compensation was not aligned. Like we were paying less what bigger companies, so we had to align compensation, or we had to provide benefits. Not we had to, but we chose to provide. Now we have full benefits. Actually, we've been having this for probably 7 years. We have 401k, we have health, we have dental. And when person like a real estate professional goes and work with us, it's a career for them. It's not like a part-time like job when they do 1 or 2 deals per year. No, the professionals, they have their schedule, their working hours flexible, they have health insurance, they build in their 401k, they learn how to invest. And I think that's the difference. That's how we more unique than a bigger corporation with toxic culture.
What's the threshold to get into that pool? To get into the profit sharing, to get the Class B shares?
Well, in our, we basically put everyone who's been in a long time with the company
Mhm.
or key employees.
Got it. So if someone's been with the company for a long time, then they get put into that, or if it's a leadership role, they're into that as well.
Yeah, typically you don't want to have everyone in that pool because people need to have understanding what it is. Otherwise, if they, let's say, get base salary, like first of all, there's no value for them because they don't understand. And second, you also don't want to deal with a lot of partners because they still like your partners. They don't get
Sure.
profit sharing day to day, but they're partners and they have vested interest to grow enterprise value of the company. So in our particular case, what we did, we just use a playbook what private equity company do. We decided that 12% of the company value we're going to reserve for existing employees and for future employees, like for key people. If we need to attract a person, like for example, now we're looking for a marketing person, for chief marketing officer. So that will be the compensation will be base salary, performance compensation, plus profit center shares of the company.
So they get a percentage of that 12% that's set aside for the
Yeah,
for the
usually
profit.
people get from a quarter to, let's say, 1 or 2% maximum.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which can become a lot of money down the road. And that's what you're focusing on. You're trying to get them to look at big picture value of the company, enterprise value, make sure that it's worth a lot more tomorrow. And so they're thinking long term. And actually what I like when you take those three compensation structures and combine them, you just said it. Salary, so they get stability. Performance, so it pushes them to work hard and get results. and then your profit center, which gives them the long-term view, cultural focus, everything that's maybe not tangible from a day-to-day, but is big picture focused. And it also keeps them in the game long term. They don't want to go anywhere because they've got an opportunity when the company does exit. I love that. It's a great combination.
Yeah, and then we explain, like we give our people like basic, like we share with them like our investment banker like put the proposal, a company evaluation, like on average the companies like range, if you hit, let's say, 5 million dollars in EBITDA plus, it's somewhere between 6 to 8 times multiple. So let's say if your company produced $10 million, that's a $80 million enterprise value. But you need to be able to unlock that enterprise value, like, and to have it seen. Like if you're a solo guy who does all the work, everything is in your head, like no one will pay you even like zero, like one time of your EBITDA, probably maybe someone will pay. However, if you have uh, processes, systems, like in our case, we have our own proprietary software that we spend like 5 years building on, and that's how we can scale. That's different. There is a value. Like we spend, I don't know how many millions of dollars of marketing to build a local brand in order for people to recognize it, and have we have 4.7 star Google reviews out of probably we have 600
Yeah, it's
reviews
solid.
online. That gives credibility. It's worth something.
It is. Yeah, and I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome. You're giving them the vision and how to get there too. You're not just saying, "Yeah, I'll give you some equity in this thing and someday it's going to be worth something more and you're going to get rich." Someday you're not selling blue sky. You're actually giving them the valuation. If we can hit this number, the multiple is actually going to go up. So we all need to work together, hit our goals, because in 2 years, if we do, then we're going to hit that EBITDA, which boosts us up to the next multiple, and it's all aligned. So
I'm
their
smiling
salary.
because Mario, I did it. I did exactly like what you just said, like probably 15 years ago. I could not pay anything, so I said, "Okay, I'm going to give you equity in the company, and someday it's going to be big." And but the guy responded, "Hey, just pay me base salary."
Yeah,
And I will work for you. I don't need your blue sky equity. And I think when like it's worthless for a lot of people if they don't see, if they cannot imagine, if they don't understand like how this valuation works. And it's probably not when you're going to sell your company with a business broker who will probably sell like 3 times of earnings. And in our business, in a fix and flip business, it's the business is very leveraged. That's a big
Mhm.
problem. It's very labor intensive, and there are no comparables who actually been able to successfully sell a company. There are a lot of regional players like us, and couple like public companies like Open Door, OfferPad. They losing money. They lost probably about 80% of enterprise value, shareholder values last 5 years. But also, the time was tough. Last 2 years was tough. Were tough because like when we were sitting on, I don't know how much we had, maybe 80 or 90 million dollars of inventory of homes, and the interest rates start going up. That was no fun. That
No,
was like you cannot do anything with those homes, and your holding costs just killing you.
absolutely. And Andre, I appreciate the transparency, because a lot of times people talk about how great their industry is or their business is, but they're not willing to say where the challenges are, where the risks are. You're right. It is a highly leveraged business. There are, market sensitivities and things like that. And I think that's a lesson in itself, that you've got to know your business and be honest about it, like to yourself. Maybe not on a podcast interview, but you need to be honest with yourself. What are your opportunities and what are your risks? Where are you strong and where are potential weaknesses in it? And, for me, I'm in the mobile home park business. We've been investing in mobile home parks for 11 years now. And I can tell you all the awesome things about the asset class, but I can also tell you the challenges with it and where the risks are for investors in that space too. So when you get rid of those blind spots and get rid of the emotion, you can actually be a better operator. And if you guys want to invest in mobile home parks passively, go ahead and go to equitygrowth.net and you can invest in my deals along with me. So Andrey, let's talk a little bit more about the scalability. All right. You said that you learned a lot of this. You took it out of the private equity playbook. How did you learn what your company could be worth down the road and that whole multiple play and understanding the valuation side of it? Because most business owners don't understand what their business is worth.
Yeah, Murray, that's a good question. I think I'm a life learner. I think the more I learn, the more I earn. I was doing I love to take notes and collect. I look at my spend account. I probably spent over $700,000 on education, like going to different events. So for me, I started with Harvard Business School. They have a private equity and venture capital. Uh, it's a 4-day event that was probably about 5 years ago. And then I went to owner president management with Harvard Business School. It's a 2-year program, and that was phenomenal program. You can understand how bigger games are played, how valuations work, what you can do to sell a company. And right now with YPO, Young President Organization, where I'm a member, they have a lot of events because at some point business owners like want to sell or mitigate the risk. A very typical scenario will be where someone, like for example like us, like all my net worth is in this business,
Sure.
and I'm completely different than I was 15 years ago. I don't want to play like I build my company to the level, and like to go to the next level I need to have a partner who has higher risk tolerance than me. So those people, business owners, probably typical scenario will be to take some chips off the table, like to take 70% off the table and roll your equity with a private equity group and start doing consolidation of industry, buy other companies, roll them up, and maybe have a second bite of the apple, maybe third bite of the apple, and sometimes this second or third can be much bigger than the first bite. So that's what we're doing right now. We're looking for, actually, we're talking to different groups. We want to buy first, like we built our proprietary software, we built equity, and right now we're looking to buy a player, someone who does, let's say, from 50 homes to 200 homes per year. With the playbook, when you want to buy someone who has like 20-25% of your volume, to make sure that you can integrate them properly. But that's what we're looking for right now.
So you're actually looking at making the acquisitions to get your scale up even more, which probably makes you much more attractive to the larger private equity firm that will eventually come in and buy out, let's say 70%, like you were just saying, and basically implement that plan that you were just talking about. But you're working to get your scale to a certain size to where you become more and more attractive to that larger fish as well.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, we want to show that we can grow not only organically but through acquisitions, and identify acquisitions across the country. And the cool thing about our industry, no one's doing that. I
no.
saw so many listings, companies for sale, but those companies are worthless, and that's the problem for a lot of people. Like, you build the company, you spend 10-15 years, and no one can buy it for you because bankers don't understand, private equity don't understand. It's a capital intensive, labor intensive, but it worth only for the owner or for someone who really understands what the heck they're doing, because there is so much risk with real estate. And we want to be that company to help normal business owner to take some chips off the table, so we can help them to grow, and maybe they can roll over equity with us, or if they want to do partially or want to do in full, we have process and systems, and we can save the team, preserve the team, and help them to succeed financially. Because the biggest challenge for a lot of guys, what if you're going to be hit by a bus?
You're
Like, your
done.
company that you build worth nothing without you.
Yeah. That's actually a great point. I love industries that are inefficient that have very little transparency. And the industry you're in is much like the mobile home park industry. Owners don't know what they're worth. They don't understand, scale. They don't understand the valuations. And there's not many people out there acquiring the companies. What you see a lot of in the house flipping business is John gets a couple contractors. They go out and they start flipping houses. He uses hard money and just does, 1, 2, 3 homes a month. And they're not growing a company. They're investors, right? And I think there's a big difference between what Andrey sees in his world than what most house flipping companies see. They think they're investors. They're not. They're operating a business. Andrey understands he's operating a business, and the revenue that he generates comes from a transactional business of buying an asset, improving it, and then selling it. And that's how he creates his revenue for his company. And so I think as soon as the house flipping investors realize that they're actually in the business, they're running a business, they'll go to a whole nother level. Now, what you're talking about is actually consolidating an industry of a lot of mom and pop house flipping investors. And that's unique because, like you said, nobody's doing it. They're
Yeah, I
all
don't know. I don't know who Mario who is doing right now, but when we started having those conversations with people, people actually got excited because that's the biggest challenge that they have. They want to keep or save something for their kids, for their family. If something happens to them, no one will pay them for the business what it's really
sure,
worth, right?
sure.
And we know that this house flipping business can be very profitable if you run it correctly, if you have right people. And I know a lot of guys in our industry, they have phenomenal businesses, really good. I'd love to partner with them, but there are no buyers for those businesses. That's very,
Yeah,
very
there's no
challenging.
exit. It's a job is really what it is. It's a self-employed business where they're transactional. And the next day, if they don't have another home to buy and sell, they're out of business. And so really looking at your platform, we'll call it, that you've created, and then being able to allow them to bolt onto that, utilizing your platform, your systems, your marketing, and then take advantage of their regional expertise and team, helping them hone in. You grow, but they also can bolt on and have a partial exit or a full exit as well. I love it.
Yeah, Mario, you also asked where did I learn. I think it's important to go to as many industry events as possible, mastermind groups, read books, and surround yourself with people who already done it many, many times. They will help you to guide you. I personally had a lot of mentors, and to grow to a new level, we also like formed advisory board and brought very, very high caliber people. Like we have Mr. Blaine Hurst. He was the CEO and chairman of the board of Panera Bread. The company was sold for $12 billion. He was also president and CEO of pizza. What's the pizza? The largest pizza in the world, Papa John's. So like, and I can call Mr. Blaine Hurst and ask him, "Hey Blaine, how should I think about this challenge? What would you do?" Do you know how powerful like just questions that he asking? It's a completely different perspective. And I'm so super blessed that we have a lot of people like who can we can call and ask for help. And that's the principle what I learned, like surround yourself with people who are already much more successful than you are and ask for help. Because like I don't know about you, probably a lot of us like entrepreneurs, we have like so much ego, like hey, like we like
Yeah.
macho man. But in reality, we need to ask for help. A lot of people will help you.
Yeah.
I learned from Mr. Jack Canfield. He wrote the book Chicken Soup for the Soul. I was in his program, Train the Trainer. And that's the first principle that really helped me to succeed, asking for help. I give you an example. When before I used to go to like a grocery store and someone asked me, hey, like, can I help you? No, no, I'll figure it out. After the event, I started accepting help. And now, actually, when my wife asks me to buy something, I don't go and look myself where that particular item is, I go to a salesperson and ask, hey, can you help me to find? So if we start asking for help, because people love to help, it's uncomfortable to say no for a lot of people, but we don't ask. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So if you watching this, or if you're hearing, listening to this, like ask, like think who, like top three people in your industry who you can call and ask, and be persistent, because like people, like successful people are busy. And if you just send one email, like no, you have to be creative. And remember the formula, I learned this formula from Jack: SW, 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 which means some will, some not. So what? Someone is waiting, and that's like was a very big game changer. Asking for help.
That's solid. I think you said it in the very beginning. There's, entrepreneurs tend to have egos. I can always tell that someone's a seasoned, successful entrepreneur. Not always, but most of the time, because they're typically a little more humble. They realize that they don't know as much as they maybe thought they used to think they knew. I mean, for me, early in business, ego, thought I was unstoppable, retire by, 24. We all do that, right? We think that we're invincible. And then you go through some challenges and you work through it and you're like, whoa, I really didn't know anything back then. Like I had no clue what I was doing. But as you get the more you grow, the better you get, the more success you get in your business, you start to realize you actually do need other people to help you, and you probably know a lot less than you think. And so I love that asking for help, because that will help you launch. You mentioned that you spent probably 700,000 on education. That is a lot of money. And most people would probably hear that and say, that's ridiculous. I don't have 700,000. But understand that Andrei's done it over an extended period of time. And on top of that, the returns on those investments are insane. I mean, for me, I was against masterminds. I don't want to say against, but I kind of looked down on them early on, because I felt like, what are these guys going to be able to tell me? And when I went to my first mastermind that my buddy literally talked me into going to because it was for charity, he goes, man, what are you going to do? You're not going to come. It's for charity. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. So I went, wow, I got a lot out of this. I was able to learn from other people who have already been where I want to go. And I was able to get in a room of people that could actually talk from experience. And as entrepreneurs, we have a hard time getting feedback, especially when the only people around us are employees. They don't have the same level of understanding of your business. They're not looking at it from the same angle. And a lot of times there's things that you just can't say to your employees that you need to be able to talk to someone else about. So I'm a big advocate for masterminds and education. And if you look at anybody who's been successful, they all are spending crazy amount of money on education and being in the right rooms. Nobody's becoming successful watching YouTube and Instagram reels. It's just not happening. You've got to get around other successful people. So
Yeah, Murray, this very interesting point. Tony Robbins said, "Success leaves clues." And if you look at, I love reading different biographies. You read about the successful people. Every single one of them was vivid reader. They read a lot. Like look at Warren Buffett, like Bill Gates. Like they read everything. And a couple resources that people can join, like two wonderful organizations that I'm aware of. First is EO, Entrepreneur Organization. If you're entrepreneur, you can join. There's no any barrier to entry. And another one is YPO, Young President Organization. You have to be below 45 years old to join, and you have to meet some threshold. Like you have to have, I think, a payroll of $2 million or more, excluding your own compensation, and then you have to be approved by other board members. That's two phenomenal organizations that I personally uh, been part of. YPO, I'm still in YPO, and you can meet a lot of successful people there, much more
I'll
than you.
I'll throw in a third one, Vistage, which is very
Vistage,
similar
yes.
to YPO. I'm in Vistage for 2 years now, and it's got similar thresholds that your business has to meet without the age restriction. But I would highly recommend, if you're not meeting the requirements, then go check out EO. And then after you've gotten your business to a certain point, get in that next level room where you're around people who are hitting certain levels of success, because obviously at some point you start to be the big fish, and you don't ever want to be the big fish in the room. You want to be the small fish, because that's how you absorb and learn. And so great feedback and great recommendations, Andrey. So Andrey, this has been fun. Last personal advice for the entrepreneur who's out there grinding it out. They're maybe that solo entrepreneur, they've got a couple team members, they're making some money, but their business owns them. What's that one tip to start getting their lifestyle under control? One tip.
Yeah, Mario, that's a million-dollar question. But I teach success principles, and the first principle that I teach is be clear why you're here. You have to really make decision where you want to be. Let's say 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year from now, and be very clear and specific what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And when you have that clarity with your mission, why you're here, how do you see yourself, that's a big start. And then you have to build the plan backwards. Because if you keep doing what you've been doing all the time without clear destination, you're never going to get there. It's like with GPS. If you don't enter where you want to be, you can drive around all your life and you never get there. But if you know where you want to be, you can lose your destination or lose your direction, but GPS will guide you back to the original destination. So you have to know where your North Star is, and look at it very often. Like have maybe a notebook where during the tough times, look why you're here, what do you want in your life.
That's awesome. I love how Andrey is so, I guess you could say, transparent, but also humble. But he's built a very large company, and I'm super impressed, and I'm grateful to be friends with you, Andrey. Can you let the listeners
Mario,
know?
just a brief. It's not me now. It's not me anymore. I'm super grateful for the team. We have about 50 or 60 people working, and we're down like from 90 we had, but now we have super fantastic people. So if not my partner, if not my mentor, if not my employees and team members, like there's no chance I would be where I am right now.
That just confirms the humble. I was just talking about. Andrey, who can get a hold of you? Who should get a hold of you, and how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's super easy. I have LinkedIn profile, I have Facebook right now, and TikTok. I start posting some videos. If you want to learn more, I also written the book, Total Financial Awakenings, Amazon bestseller. It's just a starter book. If you overwhelmed, overworked, want to learn really basic mindset, it's my story, how I did it myself. There's also audio version of the book, so you can listen to it in your spare time.
Love it. Andrey, thanks again for being on. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mario.
Thanks for listening. I hope you got out of this as much as I did. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star review so we can reach more people. Jump over to mariodattilo.net and find out what else I got going on. Be sure to connect with me on all the socials, and I'll see you on next week's show. Thanks for listening. I hope you got out of this as much as I did. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star review so we can reach more people. Jump over to mariodattilo.net and find out what else I got going on. Be sure to connect with me on all the socials, and I'll see you on next week's show.